For sinister internet rabbit holes you never knew existed, discover the terrifying secrets revealed. The glow of the screen cast too much light in the dim living room, shadows dancing on Clara's walls like restless spirits. She felt the pressure of eerie anticipation coil around her like a snake. Midnight was supposed to blanket the world in silence, yet the digital realm sang a sinister lullaby. Clara, bleary-eyed from another grueling night shift, clicked on an article that would change everything. Creepypasta meets suburbia, it claimed. The unsettling stories poured out like dark smoke, taunting her from the screen, a world of vanishings, neighbors hiding unspeakable truths, and small-town secrets boiling beneath the pristine surface of Maplewood. The first tale made her skin prickle. It spoke of a neighbor's sudden addiction to the silent game. Kids gone missing and replaced by empty-eyed little shadows. Clara shuddered, pressing her fingers to the chilly keyboard. Was this really a joke? Or something much more sinister? An uncanny reality began creeping in, brushing against the edges of her thoughts. The kids played freely in their backyards, laughter gleaming under the streetlights. How could such darkness lurk beneath that perfect facade? It seemed impossible, but that thought echoed in her mind. Late at night, after each draining shift spent caring for the frail and sick, those stories morphed from fiction into a palpable dread. As Clara scrolled listlessly, pacing her anxiety, she overheard Emma's giggles splitting the air behind her. "Lila says she won tea, let me get hurt." The innocent claim pierced through Clara, sending a stab of ice into her heart. "Who's Lila?" she asked, turning slowly to see Emma dancing playfully, her small fingers tracing invisible trails in the air. The room felt gusty, like a storm gathering, dread dripping from the ceiling. As she approached, the giggling faded, replaced by silence. Clara's breath caught in her throat. Clear blue eyes met otherworldly ones beyond imagination. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As days slipped by, paranoia snaked its way into Clara's sanity. The stories morphed into an obsession, feeding her fear like a raging beast. Neighborhood gatherings felt suffocating, her fellow residents felt like wolves in sheep-esque clothing. The once familiar faces were no longer friendly but frighteningly unfamiliar. Then it happened, a common outing turned horrifying when Jack stumbled back from the pond, wide-eyed, muttering about how he'd been playing the silent game. His blank stare pierced Clara's heart, confusion spreading like ink in water. Panic churned in her stomach as she scrutinized every neighbor, every concerned smile a dance of hidden malice. Their laughter echoed hollowly, drowning under the weight of her fears. That night, the darkness pressed closer. Flickering lights whispered danger, and Clara felt every primal instinct scream, "Protect them." Then came the flicker, the sudden plunge into darkness. "Breathe." The shared silence felt alive, thrumming with danger. Across the backyard, she caught a glimpse of her daughter Emma, standing still, exuding an otherworldly glow. But it was the shadow beside her, a figure wavering like smoke, that stole the breath from Clara's lungs. What were they hiding behind their eager smiles? As the childish giggle lingered in the chilled air, Clara trembled. The horror wasn't just on the screen, it blossomed right outside her window, spilling into her seemingly perfect life. It was no longer a question of whether she could protect her children, but if it was too late to save them from the ghosts lurking beyond the shadows. Clara's heart raced as she stood frozen, the icy grip of fear wrapping around her, squeezing tighter with every second. The glow radiating from Emma flickered, illuminating the figure lurking beside her. Its form shifted, an illusion wearing the guise of a child, no longer the comforting presence Clara had known. The shadow whispered something, words so soft they were nearly swallowed by the wind, but Clara could feel their weight digging into her bones. Emma, come here. Clara's voice cracked, torn between urgency and the unsettling chill that coursed through her. The child turned, but the spark in her blue eyes was gone, replaced with an abyss that drew Clara closer with an invisible thread. She fought against it, but every instinct screamed to reach out. Lila wants to play, Emma said, her voice eerily flat. The name struck a nerve deep within Clara's consciousness, echoing with every dreadful tale she'd absorbed. In the grim shadows of the internet, Lila became a specter, a tragic figure whispered about in hushed forums. Kids ensnared by the game, their laughter vanishing, leaving only hollow shells behind. Emma. Clara stepped forward, her pulse loud in her ears. Get away from her. She's not your friend. Worry twisted in her gut as she thought of Jack's vacant stare, the disturbing murmur that had haunted her all week. Lila, was she the key to this nightmare? The figure shifted again, a flick of darkness, as if testing the ground beneath it. Shadows danced, morphing into something grotesque. Clara clenched her fists. She shook her head, unwilling to let paranoia devour her. She reached for Emma, but the air thickened. A low hum resonated, freezing her in place. Play the game. The shadowy whispers merged into a sing-song melody. A childhood chant at first innocent, yet twisted. Clara's blood ran cold. She remembered the eerie rhythms of the previous tales, the echoes of laughter swiftly turning into cries. No. This ends now. Clara demanded, stepping closer to the glowing figure that was still her daughter, trying to draw her back. Lila says you can't stop us. Emma declared, her voice shockingly confident, eyes darkening further. The weight of dread shattered all hopes of a simple dismissal. Clara lunged forward, pulling Emma into her arms, feeling the warmth of her daughter's body against her. Bright lights suddenly erupted around them, a burst of pure, blinding illumination that sent the shadow fleeing, dissolving into wisps of smoke like the remnants of a fading nightmare. The warmth faded nearly as fast, leaving Clara shivering in its absence. Emma nestled beneath her chin. Mommy, she said I was chosen. Emma's words slipped out, heavy and foreboding. The innocence of childhood intermingled with something dark, twisting like a knife in Clara's heart. Chosen? Chosen for what? Clara could hardly breathe, looking down into her daughter's pale face, now devoid of the flickering light that had shrouded her moments before. Just then, the front door creaked open, piercing the tense atmosphere with the sound of grinding wood. Clara's blood ran cold as she caught sight of Mr. Thompson, her neighbor, a familiar face now shrouded in dread. His smile was too wide, too eager, eyes glinting with hidden knowledge. Come outside. We're waiting for you. The invitation dripped with an unsettling sweetness that made Clara's skin crawl. She hesitated, a battle raging within. What lay outside? A trap? Or freedom from this suffocating danger? The moment hung in the air, thick with tension, her heart pounding louder than ever. What awaited them outside? As Clara held Emma tightly, the dread of the unknown tainted her every thought. Choices to be made, and the sinister laughter beckoned, promising an unsettling ritual beneath the pallid moonlight. The shadows were waiting. Would she take that step into darkness? With a sudden rush, she gripped Emma's hand tighter, steeling herself for the unknown. What price would they pay for stepping outside? Clara's breath caught in her throat as her gaze darted between Mr. Thompson's eager smile and her daughter's pallid face. The world outside seemed to pulse with a life of its own, every rustle of leaves, every flickering light feeling like a taunt. Emotions clashed, fear intermingled with a desperate need to protect Emma. The darkness beyond the door felt alive, waiting for them to make a choice. Let us go inside, she murmured, instincts pulling her back toward the safety of their home. But Emma's grip tightened on her hand. No, Mommy. We're supposed to go out. Lila is waiting. Clara's heart lurched. The innocent sparkle that once danced in Emma's eyes was overshadowed by an unsettling void, as if Lila was reaching out from within her, pulling strings Clara didn't understand. She felt a surge of panic that nearly knocked the wind from her. "Emma, listen to me. We can't go outside. It's dangerous." But Emma only shook her head, a hint of defiance sparking beneath the surface. Mr. Thompson stepped further into the threshold, his shadow creeping across the porch like a predator cornering its prey. "Come on, Clara. It's just a game. Everyone's playing." His voice dripped insincerity as enthusiasm radiated off him. The neighbors' figures materialized behind him, a mix of familiar faces twisted into unnatural grins. "Everyone?" Clara's voice trembled as she searched their eyes for the truth. But what she found were reflections of the darkness she had just faced. It terrified her, the lurking dread of conformity, of losing herself among the shadows of others. "They need you, Clara. We need you. Tonight's the night." A haunting echo of laughter spilled from somewhere deeper in the darkness, a sound that promised secrets and betrayal, beckoning her toward the unknown. Clara could envision it if she stepped out. Would she find herself among friends or trapped in an abyss? "Emma, I'm not leaving this house. Not for anyone." In her desperation, Clara bolted for the door, clutching Emma's small form. But an invisible force pulled at them, cold wisps of shadow encircling their legs like serpents, making every step forward an uphill battle. "Mommy!" Emma cried out, anguish mingling with fear. "We have to play. We're chosen." "No!" Clara screamed, straining against whatever was holding them captive, panic escalating as the whispers grew louder, intertwining with Emma's cries. "Play with us." The chorus of familiar voices unified in a dissonant symphony, a cadence that shattered her resolve and filled her thoughts with despair. It was an infectious melody, sweetened with the promise of childhood innocence but tainted by something dark that clawed at her mind. With every ounce of strength, Clara lunged toward the door, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing. Just as she reached for the doorknob, the ground shifted, and everything around her warped, a cacophony of shadows leaking into reality. "We're waiting," the words reverberated through her, amplified as if they were bouncing off the walls of her mind, drowning her in dread, desperately searching for an escape from this nightmarish trap. No more hesitation, no more games. She yanked open the door, breaking free of the shadows with Emma still clutched to her side. The moon hung low, an eye watching them, but the moment they crossed the threshold, the world seemed to exhale. A stillness settled, the kind that felt too quiet, too alert. Clara's wide eyes scanned the yard and then shot back to Mr. Thompson and the rest of the neighbors, who now stood rooted to the spot, the strange grins frozen on their faces. "What are you going to do?" she whispered, dread curling in her stomach. Their silence was deafening. Then, without warning, they all began to laugh, a mechanical, synchronized sound that sent chills down Clara's spine. "Join the game or face the consequences," Mr. Thompson said, his eyes glinting with a hunger. The breath taste of rot filled the air, and realization hit like a punch. What kind of game were they playing? Clara's pulse quickened. She needed answers. A sudden howl pierced the night air, the howl of a wolf, haunting and wild. It sliced through the laughter, chilling her down to the bone. What awaited them in the shadows? Clara's instincts screamed for her to run, but as she turned toward the looming figures behind her, the dread settled heavier. "Mommy, what are we going to do?" Emma's voice trembled. Clara glanced back at the faces surrounding them, the laughter still echoing in her ears. Could they ever escape this sinister game? And what awaited them if they played along? Clara's mind raced. The moon hung above them, an ominous witness to the gathering mess of neighbors, their eyes glinting like hungry predators. With a swift arm, she pulled Emma closer, her instincts fighting against the paralyzing fear encasing her. "Stay close to me," Clara whispered, her voice barely breaking above the symphonic laughter swirling in the air. The night felt alive, swarming with possibilities both thrilling and terrifying. Every instinct bolted for safety, but the reality of their situation held them hostage at the edge of a living nightmare. Suddenly, one of the neighbors, a woman wearing a gaudy dress that shimmered darkly, stepped forward. Her grin stretched unnaturally wide. "We've waited so long for you too. Lila has chosen." Her words dripped with a sickening sweetness, each syllable laced with the stench of decay. "Lila? Chosen?" Clara stammered, her heart pounding in her ears as though it might burst free. "We need to go home." The woman tilted her head, the laughter of the crowd now shifting, melding into distorted whispers. Their words hovered in the air like smoke, barely discernible yet heavy with meaning. "You can't go home. Not tonight. Not ever." Clara's vision blurred, and the shadowy edges of the world began to close in, wrapping around her with tendrils of despair. Emma's small fingers clutched her tightly. "Mommy, I want to see Lila." "Lila isn't she's not real. She can't be." Clara gasped, fighting the absurd notion that any of this could be happening. Yet, a part of her, a dark, shivering corner of her mind, whispered that perhaps Lila was real, perhaps she was lurking somewhere, waiting and watching. "Only through the game can you find her," Mr. Thompson's voice cut through the chaotic swirl, cold and commanding. "You've played before, haven't you? It's time to celebrate once more." Clara stumbled back, her eyes darting to the yard beyond. Her home loomed behind her, a fortress slowly dissolving into the shadows. "You don't understand," she screeched, her voice trembling with panic. "We don't want to play." "Playtime is necessary," a voice echoed from the depths of the crowd, resonating with a sinister unity that chilled her blood. With each passing moment, she felt the fraying threads of reality spin tighter around her. Clara made eye contact with Emma, searching her daughter's face for any sign of recognition, any glimmer of the little girl who once sang songs atop mushroom rings in their backyard. What had Lila done to her? Why did Emma look so tranquil in the face of impending doom? "Mommy, we have to play. Trust me." A sheen of serene enthusiasm smeared across Emma's face, as if she were entranced by an invisible force. "No!" Clara shouted, shaking her daughter. "Snap out of it." Suddenly, the surroundings shifted, a rustle of leaves turned into whispers, shadows morphed into elongated figures swaying, not quite human. Clara felt herself sinking into despair. The very air seemed charged with an eerie energy, vibrating around her. The neighbors stepped closer, encircling them in a tightening grip, and Clara realized they weren't just playing a game, they were weaving their net. "Emma," she pleaded, "you have to listen to me. We need to go now." In response, Emma's grip on her hand slackened just slightly, revealing a glimpse of panic beneath the surface of her otherwise calm demeanor. Just then, the howl returned, echoing louder, more feral this time. It dissolved the laughter, leaving only breathless silence. An unnatural dread filled the air, an anticipation that something was about to be revealed. "Let her choose." Mr. Thompson beckoned, an unsettling eagerness flashing in his eyes. "Let her choose what comes next." The shadows extended, hungry for a decision, and Clara realized just how far this game had ensnared them. Would Emma choose to follow the eerie song of innocent childhood, or would she heed her mother's call to safety? Time seemed to stretch, and Clara faced the crowd, sweat trickling down her temple, knowing she had to act. "Emma!" she shouted, desperation clawing at her heart. "What do you want to do?" A furtive smile broke across Emma's face, yet her eyes gleamed with a darkness Clara couldn't comprehend. "I want to see Lila." As the shadows closed in, Clara's resolve faltered. If she didn't act soon, they might never escape. What lay ahead for Clara and Emma? Would the ever-deepening shadows swallow them whole, or was there still a glimmer of hope left? Only the night would reveal its sinister intentions. The crowd surged closer, a tide of faces twisted in malevolent joy. Clara could feel the frigid breath of despair clutch at her throat, a suffocating reminder of the impossible choice laid before them. Beneath the pressure of their expectant stares, her heartbeat raced wildly, each thud echoing the primal urge to fight or flee. Emma, listen to me. You don't want to see Lila. Clara pleaded, her voice trembling with the weight of their situation. She stepped in front of her daughter, desperately trying to block the encroaching shadows. We can leave, just take my hand. But Emma simply stood, entranced, eyes wide and unblinking, as if Lila's name had enchanted her. Mommy, Lila is my friend. She's the best. The words rolled off Emma's tongue like honey, sticky and sweet, yet darkly corrupted. Clara's thoughts spiraled. How had a simple name become a harbinger of terror? Lila wasn't just a figment of childhood imagination anymore. Lila was pulsing with darkness, and that darkness was reaching for Emma. The whispers in the crowd grew louder, a sinister symphony that drowned out Clara's thoughts. Let her choose. Let her choose. They chanted, their voices clashing in a chorus of madness that reverberated through her. With shaking hands, Clara tugged Emma closer. You have to fight it. Remember our games? The ones we played in the backyard? But the memory was slipping away like grains of sand through her fingers. The joy of those moments faded under the heavy haze of dread wrapping around them. Suddenly, Clara noticed a shift in the crowd's demeanor. The laughter dimmed, replaced with a palpable tension as a figure broke free from the throng, gliding toward them with unnatural grace. The figure was cloaked in shadows, an outline formed by darkness itself. Lila, Clara murmured, the air around her growing colder. Yes, Clara. The voice unfolded like silken petals, smooth yet jagged. Lila stepped into view, her presence stealing the breath from Clara's lungs. Pale as moonlight, her eyes seemed hollow, echoing the void Clara felt deep in her chest. Lila has been waiting for you both. Emma perked up, a bright smile illuminating her face, starkly contrasting with the pallor surrounding Lila. See, Mommy? She's beautiful. Clara felt nausea rise, fear tearing at the edges of her sanity. No. She's not beautiful, she's wrong. Lila laughed, an echoing sound that blended with the growing murmurs of the crowd. Oh, but it's so much fun to play. Not this game, Clara gasped, stepping back. We don't want to play. The shadows thickened, clawing at her resolve. Lila's smile widened, revealing pearly teeth sharp like knives. That's the thing about our little games, Clara. You don't get to choose. With a swift motion, Lila gestured toward the encroaching darkness. Tonight marks a new beginning. Emma can join us or you can both become part of the playground. Forever. Panic surged through Clara. She had to protect her daughter, even if that meant facing the darkness head-on. Emma, listen. I'm your mother. You must trust me. Emma's gaze flickered, a moment of clarity breaking through the haze, but then Lila laughed again, pulling at the little girl's hand like a puppet, weaving a spell of unholy joy. Join me, Emma, Lila beckoned sweetly, and we can be sisters. We can have so much fun. As the crowd whispered in poisonous excitement, Clara felt as if the world were crumbling away. She couldn't lose her daughter. Not like this. Emma. Desperation fueled her scream, sharp and painful. Fight, baby. You must fight. Emma's smile faltered for just a second, but the shadows danced around her, threatening to engulf her entirely. Clara forced herself forward, stepping deep into the circle of darkness. Despair is not your path, not tonight. Clara shouted, gripping the energy pouring from the shadows that embraced her. She felt the warmth of love and desperation surge through her veins, then, without warning, the ground beneath them trembled, quaking with a force that echoed through the night. The shadows shrank back, as if recoiling from her unwavering spirit. Clara could feel the pull of something sinister, yet she held on tighter to the flicker of hope. What now? She whispered to herself, dread tightening its hold. Yet even as she pressed forward, an ominous roar echoed above them, the howl returning, louder and angrier as if reacting to her defiance. Would her courage be enough? The answer fluttered just out of reach as dark laughter filled the night, promising horrors yet to reveal themselves. As the ground rolled again, Clara could only hold Emma tighter, praying that whatever came next wouldn't tear them apart. The ground quaked violently, a desperate rumble that swelled from deep within the earth. Clara pressed her ear against Emma's head, hoping her heartbeat could shield the girl from the encroaching chaos. The laughter and chants of the crowd melded with the roar reverberating above them, twisting into a cacophony that threatened to swallow her whole. "Stay close," Clara urged, clenching Emma's hand tightly. She could feel the pulse of terror thrumming through the little girl, their connection a fragile thread. Clara's heart raced with every flicker of Lila's ravenous smile. "Mommy, I want to play." Emma's voice was barely a whisper, haunted and uncertain. Her eyes flickered toward Lila, and Clara's stomach twisted at the same time. It was a battle, her daughter's innocence against something far older and vile. "No!" Clara shouted, squeezing Emma's hand tighter. "You are stronger than her. Remember who you are." The shadows, thick and sinister, surged closer, almost snaking around Clara's legs. She fought the icy grasp threatening to drag them into a dark abyss. "Oh, how sweet," Lila said, her voice dripping with mock tenderness, swirling around them like fog. "Her spirit is so strong. Yet, how much more fun it would be if she joined me." With every word, the air turned colder, heavier, suffocating. Fun. Clara trembled as she considered the twisted meaning of the word. "This isn't fun, this is wrong." Lila tilted her head, confusion painting her ghostly features. "Wrong only exists in the realm of the living." She stepped closer, stretching out her thin fingers toward Emma. "Come to me, little one. Embrace what you truly are." The crowd seemed to converge, their anticipation rising like water in a tide. Clara could hear their whispers, see the gleam of madness in their eyes. They wanted this, she realized, a spectacle, a new toy to front in their games. The sick joy radiating from them filled Clara with rage and determination. "No! You're nothing but a thief. A parasite!" Clara shouted at Lila, her voice rising above the chaos. For a moment, silence swept the crowd, shock etched onto their faces. But it was only a blink. "What a pity," Lila hissed, her eyes narrowing. "You would deny your daughter such joy?" But even as despair lurked like a predator in the shadows, Clara witnessed a brief flicker of recognition in Emma's eyes. It sparked between them like lightning, immediate and electric. "Mommy," Emma whispered, the shadows around her churned, as if Lila's grasp was faltering. "Yes. Yes, it's me." Clara fought through the thickening darkness, pulling Emma into her chest, desperate to shield her. "Fight, Emma. Fight." Suddenly, sounds echoed from behind Clara, a guttural low growl punctuated by a hiss. She turned, eyes wide, and froze as a massive shape emerged from the fog. It was dark and warped, impossibly large, swirling shadows folding into itself. Panic gripped Clara, it was as if nightmares had taken form, drawn to their vulnerability. "Lila!" The creature roared, its voice a bellowing terror that ripped through the feeble laughter of the crowd. "You are not ready for this yet." The air turned ice cold, crackling with dread as the creature shifted, ever-changing, like a monstrous puzzle. "Mommy, what is that?" Emma's voice trembled, rooted to the spot as she stared at the horror. Clara's heart surged into her throat. "We have to go, right now." But just as she turned to run, Lila lunged forward, a blur of motion, her sharp smile glinting like a predator lunging for prey. The ground beneath them shifted again, a violent shudder ripping through Clara's feet. She gripped Emma tightly, instinct kicking in as she prepared to flee. Yet the crowd blocked their way, faces now twisted into malignant masks of hunger and longing. "Let her choose." They screamed, voices merging into a single monstrous command. Clara could feel the thrill of panic flood her veins, a searing terror igniting every instinct. It narrowed to one gnawing thought: survival was slipping. Would she and Emma become trapped in this web of shadows, puppets in a game of unfathomable terror? The creature let out a low rumble, shadows swirling precariously close, urging them to stay. All she could do was clutch her daughter closer, heart racing with the urgency to escape darkness before it consumed them both. What choice remained as Lila's chilling laughter echoed through the throbbing chaos, and then Clara knew this was not just about fighting Lila, it was also about facing the monster behind her, ready to devour them in one fell swoop. As she edged backward, every instinct screamed that time was running out, and whatever dragged them closer might yet cost Clara her last moment of clarity. But what if an even darker truth lurked just beneath the surface? The answer drifted like smoke, tantalizing but out of reach. Clara recoiled, her instincts screaming that they were losing ground. The shadows coiled tighter, pulsating with all-consuming darkness. Behind her, the monstrous shape seemed to shift, distorting in a macabre dance of hunger and power. She glanced at Emma, fear painted stark across the girl's face, her small hands trembling. "Mommy, please!" Emma cried, her voice laced with terror. "Hold on to me." Clara's grip became a lifeline, unyielding. The cries of the crowd surged around them, a tide of madness begging for release. They ignited a primal urge within Clara, a savage urge to protect her child. "Let her choose." A voice shrieked from the crowd, punctuating the frantic atmosphere. The chanting grew louder, drowning out reason. Clara felt the chaos wrapping around them, squeezing the air from her lungs. "We're not choosing anything," she shouted defiantly. "You can't take her." With desperation fueling her resolve, Clara pressed backward into the throng. The creature shifted again, its long shadows stretching as though it were tasting the fear that spilled from the two of them. Clara steadied herself despite the overwhelming urge to flee. The growl resonated more deeply now, a bone-chilling sound that echoed in her core. To every heartbeat, a shiver ran down her spine. Just as she imagined she might break through the throng, Lila's laughter washed over them, cruel and mocking. "Do you think you can escape your fate?" Lila's voice twisted in the air. She beckoned, and for a moment, Clara swore she could see glimpses of souls swirling behind her, twisted figures merging into the madness of the shadows. Each face bore hollow eyes filled with longing, a connection to something they had lost. But an idea struck. Clara remembered the flicker in Emma's eyes, the bond they shared that transcended fear. They were two against a deluge. "Emma," she whispered urgently, forcing the girl's gaze to meet hers. "You have to fight for us. You are not alone." Emma nodded, the resolve beginning to build, nudging aside her fear. Clara felt the pulse of strength between them strengthen, feeding off the love that entwined them like strands of light pushing back the darkness. Yet just as they found courage, the creature surged forward, a howl escaping its shadowy form, threatening to pull them under. Clara's heart hammered in her chest as she caught sight of the crowd's collective gaze, wild and unhinged, a hunger that sent fresh terror racing through her veins. "Run!" she shouted, the command erupting from the deep recesses of her being. Without looking back, she tore through the crowd, feeling Emma push hard against her side. Pushing forward, they dodged and maneuvered. Faces blurred, indistinct, shadows reached and clawed, hungry to drag them back. Then, Clara spotted a flicker, a gap in the crowd, a small chance at escape. There. She targeted the opening, pulling Emma along, but Lila's laughter soared above the din, echoing with foreboding. "No! You will not escape me." The word sliced through the air, sharp as a blade, and with it, Clara felt the ground buck beneath them again, as if the earth itself had awakened in anger. The crowd surged forward, closing in, but Clara pushed harder, wills meeting wills. The shadows swirled, a consuming vortex threatening to swallow them whole. A light throb of hope flared in Clara's mind. If they could just reach that escape. In that fleeting moment, Clara caught a glimpse of something, an image stuck between reality and nightmare. What if the choice wasn't just about Lila and the monster? A surge from within whispered that Emma held a secret, a power Lila coveted. Would she encourage her daughter to embrace that power, even if it meant risking everything? The tension tightened around them, like a noose, but now Clara felt the pulse of an unwritten story around them all. What truth awaited them in that flicker of light? What if the darkness was merely a reflection of the light they had to ignite, and just like that, as they neared the escape, the ground heaved violently. Clara stumbled, thrown off balance, the world spinning as she lost her grip on Emma's hand. Emma! The darkness surged forward and time itself spiraled, clawing at Clara's last shred of clarity. Was the darkness ready to tear them apart? Find the light! Clara shouted, hope and fear entwining as figures spun around her, threatening to pull them deeper into the shadows. All she could do was watch, breathless, as everything she held dear began to slip through her fingers. What horror lurked in the choice they had yet to face? Clara reached out, her every instinct fighting panic as she grasped for Emma. The darkness loomed like a living entity, hungry, so very hungry. She could feel it breathing, could sense its anticipation. Fear trickled through her veins, and in that heartbeat of despair, she nearly surrendered to the void. Get away from her! Clara screamed, her voice nearly drowned out by a wave of ominous laughter echoing through the chaos. Shadows beckoned, curling around her ankles, pulling her down, dragging the world beneath her into a nightmarish swirl. She stumbled, her heart a caged animal pounding in her chest, but she would not give in. Mommy! Emma's tiny voice pierced through the crowd, filled with panic, breaking Clara's concentration. Her daughter had vanished into the swirling mass of bodies, swallowed whole by the desperate tide. Fear ignited, hotter and more powerful than before. Emma! The name tore from her lips, raw and urgent. She pushed through the throng, forcing her way into the dark blackness. The faces around her twisted in agony, their hollow eyes pleading for escape while shackled to their madness. The taunting essence of Lila brushed against her skin, a ghostly caress. The familiarity of the chaos wrapped tighter, weighing Clara down, threatening to snatch what little resolve remained. Then, Clara felt it, a flicker of warmth, a string of light weaving through the darkness. Her heart leaped. Emma! Follow my voice! She called, praying the bond they shared would guide her child back through the shadows. A response echoed softly, gravitational like a whisper caught in the wind. Mommy! It was Emma, hope sparking, igniting an inner flame that pushed against the consuming shadows. Clara strained her ears, focusing, drilling through the madness around her. Stay with me, my love. I'm coming. She clawed her way closer, each step a battle against the rash screams pulling at her. But then the world shook, thrumming like a drum in a dissonant rhythm, and the shadows thickened. The creature roared, echoing through the mass like a dark symphony bent on destruction. Your choice, Clara. Lila mocked, her voice sliding under Clara's skin, a chill creeping down her spine. Make it while you can. In that moment, images flooded Clara's mind. The faces of those lost, the whispered tales of the damned, echoes of those who had emerged from the black and failed. She stumbled, fear staining her thoughts with doubt. Was Emma worth this risk? Could they truly stand against the dark? Mommy! Emma cried louder now, the desperation in her voice ricocheting off Clara's resolve. With it, a surge of determination ignited within her, one that burned against the tendrils of despair. I won't leave you. The tumult around them swirled, becoming almost ethereal as Clara burst through the final barriers, tumbling into the light of a small clearing. There she found Emma, still clutching tightly to the flicker of light that now glimmered between them. Together. Clara gasped, seizing Emma's hand with a grip filled with unyielding strength. The shadows writhed at the edges of their sanctuary, but something had changed. The darkness seemed to recoil as if recognizing the undeniable bond of love fueled by sheer will. Find the light. Clara pressed, feeling Emma's tiny fingers tighten around hers. The darkness hesitated, and in that sliver of a moment, Clara realized the truth. The light they needed was within them, an innate power grasping to rise, but Lila's laughter rang out, filled with venomous glee. "You think you can defeat me with that little flicker? You're too late." The crowd surged forward once more, an unholy tide of despair, but in that instant, a choice glimmered before Clara, one that threatened to shatter the very world she clung to. "We can choose," Clara shouted, feeling the air shift. But could they withstand the shadows? As darkness swirled back, tighter than before, Clara felt herself topple at the brink of a choice. Would she risk everything to embrace the power within Emma? Let go, or fight? Lila taunted, her presence looming as tumult roared. Clara's heart raced, teetering on the edge of a decision that could either envelop them in light or drag them deeper into oblivion. What would they choose? And just like that, silence enveloped the space as Clara's choice hung in the air. What sacrifice would she make at the cusp of salvation? Clara's breath halted, a painful pause hanging in the air, as her heart raced against the weight of Lila's threat. She felt Emma's small hand trembling in hers, the warmth slowly seeping away as the shadows crept closer. Time warped, stretching and warping reality, pulling her deeper into a world where choices didn't matter anymore. "Mommy. Please." Emma's voice, frantic and strained, echoed through the thickening haze, tugging at Clara with ferocity. The darkness writhed and shifted, dark fingers reaching out like they craved her very soul. Each pulse of the entity around them reverberated through the ground, shaking Clara's resolve. "I will not give you my daughter," Clara screamed, clutching Emma tighter. A flicker of warmth from their bond surged through her, coursing like a live wire, almost overwhelming in its intensity. Lila's laughter sliced through the thick darkness like a serrated knife, rasping at her mind. "You think that love can protect you? It is merely a light, and I am darkness itself." The shadows seemed to laugh, swirling eagerly around them, hungry for despair. The world felt as though it teetered on the edge of a precipice. Clara's mind raced, but the chaos around her threatened to pull her down into oblivion where hope was a mere fantasy. She could hear snatches of whispered torment, a cacophony of voices caught in a web of despair, begging for release. "Emma, listen to me," Clara urged, her voice tightening with desperate intensity. "We need to push. Together, we can overcome this." The shadows hesitated momentarily, as if sensing the strength of their connection. Clara closed her eyes, envisioning the pure light that had danced between them, forcing every ounce of love she felt into a singular resolve. Readying herself to fight with everything she had, she whispered, "We have to choose light." But a growl rumbled through the air, deep and guttural. "Foolish choices, Clara." Lila's tone hissed, sounding ever closer. "You think yourself worthy of salvation? Embrace despair, it is your true home." Clara's heart clawed a path of terror as she sensed the ground ripple beneath her, the shadows pushed closer, unnerving tendrils coiling upwards like snakes, seeking her and Emma's light. Panic crushed against her chest. Was this it? With a primal scream arising from the pit of her being, she released all the love and hope she anchored into a blinding surge of light. "Together!" she cried, anchoring Emma to her side as she poured every ounce of her being into that one moment. The darkness shrieked, a sound that drowned out even the loudest thunder, reverberating in her bones. Clara felt something shift, a crack, a fragile fissure in the black that cloaked them. It flickered, glimmering and growing. "Push through, push!" she urged, as light began to pierce through the dark, illuminating the horrifying scene around them. Faces emerged momentarily from the depths of despair, twisted in agony, lost souls calling for help in an endless void. As the radiance concentrated around them, Clara fought against the oppressive shadows, feeling their reluctance to recede. Yet each pulse of the light brought them a shred of hope, but Lila's presence remained like an ominous cloud. "You think you can escape? You belong to me." Lila's voice howled, eerie and relentless, the fabric of the darkness reshaping, writhing, as if it did not want to release its prey. "Keep holding on, Emma," Clara shouted through gritted teeth, feeling Emma's small frame vibrate with hesitation beside her. Each moment felt like a lifetime, time slowing under the tension pressuring her soul. But just as their light began to pierce deeper, uncovering glimmers of sanity in the chaos, Clara felt a coldness brush against her cheek, like ice trailing down her spine. A new dread seeped through her heart, a sinister realization that Lila wasn't just out for Emma. "Fool, is this what you call love? You will lose everything," Lila growled, and Clara realized the weight of her own existence was being twisted back against her. "Emma!" she screamed, feeling the threads of her reality unravel, her heart hammering wildly in terror. What sacrifice would she have to make to save her child? Would she lose herself in the grip of the darkness, or could she unlock the light that pulsed within her? Clara's choice hung like a guillotine, slicing through the wavering heart of the turmoil, ready to plunge deep into the unknown. Would the bond between them be their salvation, or was it destined to be their downfall? The next moment would determine everything. The shadows trembled, twisting like a coiled snake. Clara felt the icy breath of despair threaten to consume them, but she anchored herself in the warmth radiating from Emma. They were connected by the fiercest love, a power Lila couldn't corrupt, no matter how she tried. "Emma! See the light!" Clara shouted, tightening her grip on her daughter. Each echo of darkness pressed in closer, but somewhere deep within, Clara felt the flicker of hope igniting into a roaring flame. With every ounce of love infused into her voice, she continued, "Together, we can make it. We can choose freedom." Lila's laughter filled the air, high-pitched and menacing. "Choose? You're merely delaying the inevitable. You think you can break my hold? You are mine." But Clara refused to surrender to despair. She clung to Emma, feeling her daughter's warmth pulse like a beacon against the engulfing darkness. "No. We are not yours," she proclaimed, defiance rising within her. The shadows recoiled momentarily, hissing as the light emanating from their connection threatened to unravel the web of lies that Lila spun around them. Clara could almost see the shadowy fingers retract, as if the very essence of darkness recognized the power of maternal love. "Believe, Emma," she urged, her heart pounding in rhythm with hope. "Believe in your own strength." Emma, still grasping Clara's hand, hesitated for a moment, the connection between them flickering like the flame of a candle in the wind. Then, with unyielding resolve, the little girl shouted, "Mommy, I believe in us." A blinding light erupted around them, illuminating the encroaching darkness, shattering the illusions tethered to Lila's will. Clara felt herself surge with power, the warmth of hope consumed her, intertwining with Emma's innocence. It was as if they were birthing a new reality, a world where darkness had no dominion. "No!" Lila screeched as the light enveloped them in divine warmth. It pressed against the shadows, constricting the vile grip they had on the neighbors, whose faces twisted in terror and disgust. The wretched cries of the crowd melded into whispers of confusion and regret as the shadows peeled away, revealing the lingering remnants of the children lost to fear. "Come back!" Lila's voice grew desperate, a shrill echo reverberating around them, her power dwindling in the wake of hope's light, but Clara wouldn't back down. "This ends now. You've taken enough," she roared, pouring every ounce of fierce love and protection into her voice. The shadows fought, struggling against the encroaching brightness. Yet with each defiant word, the light expanded, penetrating the very fabric of darkness. "Mommy!" Emma's voice soared above the chaos, unfiltered joy cascading through her words. "We can set them free." "Then let us do it, my love," Clara commanded, their resolve firming in the luminous embrace. As they joined hands, an overwhelming warmth surged from their hearts, a radiant wave echoing outward, with a pulse of brilliant light. Clara envisioned every child, every soul lost, entrapped in a web spun from fear being pulled into the light. And as they envisioned that freedom together, the shadows gasped, splintering and snapping like fragile glass thrown into the sun. The neighbors reeled, their faces contorting as awareness crept into their eyes. Clara could see clarity returning, souls emerging from the haze of darkness, pleading eyes meeting her own. "Help us," they whispered, their spent voices laden with sorrow. "Let them go." Clara shouted defiantly, holding tighter to Emma as the light cascaded through the gathering darkness, illuminating their path. In that critical moment, Clara understood, this power came not from her alone but from the bond she shared with Emma and the love that transcended time. The shadows fractured under the weight of their resolve, retreating, screeching, and collapsing in on themselves until there was nothing but echoes of desperation. As the last vestiges of darkness evaporated into the night air, a hush fell over the crowd. Clara felt her heart pound with relief, every breath surging with hope. They had triumphed, together. Lila's final scream echoed as a whisper dissipating into oblivion. Clara and Emma stood, encased in the safety of warmth, supported by the flickering light now saturating the world around them. Sunlight began to break through the night sky, soft hues illuminating the figures of neighbors returning to themselves, expressions shifting from fear to confusion. Clara could see recognition as they began to remember lost joys and buried fears, the weight of evil lifted from their shoulders. Among the crowd stood Mr. Thompson, his features softening into a visage of humanity once more, eyes wide with gratitude. "What happened?" he murmured, awash in dawning clarity. "They were lost," Clara spoke, her voice steady yet heavy with emotions. "But we pulled them back with love." And in that moment, as Clara and Emma embraced, she knew their journey through that nightmarish realm had forged an unbreakable bond not just between mother and daughter but among the entire community. Together they would heal from the scars of fear, brave the darkness that had once gripped their hearts, and cherish a new beginning infused with compassion and understanding. "That's it," Clara whispered, gazing warmly at Emma, her heart overflowing. "We did it. We fought for those who couldn't fight for themselves." As the light filled her surroundings, Clara glanced back at the others, a newfound purpose igniting within her. They would work together, celebrate the light, remember those lost, and ensure no one would ever succumb to such shadows again. Together, she reiterated, a smile breaking across her face as light poured over Maplewood, and a kaleidoscope of hope radiated in the hearts of all. This was their farewell not just to the darkness but to the fear that had sought to consume them. The dawn had arrived, bright and beautiful, a promise of peace as they stepped forward into a world reborn, and as the warmth of the day washed over them, Clara squeezed Emma's hand, whispering, "Let us go home." The shadows faded, their sinister songs silenced for good, leaving behind only memories of strength found in unity. The adventure had ended, but the echoes of love unbreakable and enduring would forever light their path. You need to subscribe now to stay updated with our next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to help feed the algorithm. I want to hear your thoughts, so flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let's spread the love and triumph together.